For 150 million years, they absolutely ruled our planet. Yeah, when you think dinosaur, you think dominance, right? Evolutionary perfection. But what if that whole story, the one we all learned as kids, is wrong? What if their incredible reign wasn't destiny? What if it was just one of history's biggest, wildest accidents? Okay, let's get into it.
So this is really the core question, isn't it? You see a picture of a T-Rex or a Triceratops, and it just feels inevitable. Of course, they were destined to be on top. But the fossil record, when you really look at it, it tells a much messier and honestly a way more interesting story.
So, in the world of science, there are basically two competing ideas for how dinosaurs rose to power. The first one is the classic story we all know: competitive superiority. The idea that dinosaurs were just better, faster, stronger, more efficient. They were so well designed that they just outcompeted everybody else. But then there's this newer theory called opportunistic takeover. And this one suggests that dinosaurs were kind of just in the right place at the right time, victors by accident, who only got their big break after the other dominant animals started to disappear for mysterious reasons. So which is it? Let's look at the evidence.
To figure out how they ended up on top, we have to go back, way back to the Triassic period, when the very first dinosaurs showed up. And, what we find there is pretty shocking, actually.
Yeah, the earliest dinosaurs weren't the giants we imagine, not at all. They were small, skinny, two-legged creatures. A lot of them were barely a meter long, and they were definitely not the kings of their world. For millions and millions of years, they were basically minor characters, living in the shadows of much bigger, much more common animals, like these seriously formidable crocodile-like reptiles called crutarsal archosaurs. Those are the guys who really ran the show.
Now look at this timeline, because this is where it gets really interesting. See that gap? By about 230 million years ago, dinosaurs already had the key features that would later make them famous. Things like specialized teeth for eating plants, flexible jaws, grasping hands for hunting. They had the toolkit, but they didn't actually take over the world for another 15 million years. Think about that. If they were so superior, why the massive delay? This is a huge, huge problem for that competitive superiority idea. It really suggests that something else had to happen. Something had to clear the stage for them. But once they finally got that chance, boy, did they take it. Dinosaurs just exploded in diversity, branching out into two great evolutionary dynasties that would go on to conquer pretty much the entire globe. And this big split is really the key to understanding how they got to be so successful in so many different ways.
So first up, we have the ornithischians, which means bird-hipped dinosaurs. And okay, let's just clear this up right away because it's super confusing. Despite the name, these are not the ancestors of birds. Nope. This group was the great dynasty of plant eaters. They evolved these incredible tools for eating plants, like a beak on the front of their mouths for snipping off leaves, and their teeth were set in from the jawline, which tells us they probably had cheeks to hold food while they chewed.
And just look at the wild diversity that came from this one plant-eating branch. You get the Thyreifera, the shield-bearers. These are the armored tanks, like Stegosaurus and Ankylosaurus. You also get the Ornithopoda, like Iguanodon, who basically perfected chewing with these incredible tooth batteries for grinding up tough plants. And then you have the Marginocephalia, the margin heads, the ones with all the crazy headgear, like the horns and frill of Triceratops. Just an amazing evolutionary explosion, all centered around eating plants.
Okay, so the second great dynasty is the Saurischia, or the lizard-hipped dinosaurs. And here's the big plot twist. This is the group that gives us the long-necked giants like Brachiosaurus, the ferocious predators like T-Rex, and, ironically, the ancestors of every single bird alive today.
This dynasty then splits into two of the most iconic groups you can imagine. On one hand, you have the sauropodomorphs, the long-necked titans that became the biggest land animals ever, partly thanks to amazing tricks like hollowed-out vertebrae to make their massive necks lighter. And on the other side, you have the theropods, the two-legged predators that ruled the food chain, with features like hollow bones to stay quick on their feet and those powerful three-fingered hands.
And it's from that theropod group, the predators, that we get the most incredible, most surprising story in all of dinosaur evolution. It's a story of transformation that proves this ancient dynasty is, in a very real sense, still with us today.
So here's the bottom line, the crucial point. Birds didn't just evolve from dinosaurs. Paleontologists now classify them as dinosaurs. They are a living, breathing branch of the theropod family tree. That pigeon you see in the park, that's an avian dinosaur. The chicken on your plate, also a dinosaur. They're everywhere.
And the amazing thing is, the fossil record shows us exactly how this happened, step by step. It wasn't one giant leap. First, the wishbone appeared in big theropods, way before flight was ever a thing. Then, their torsos started to get shorter and more compact, which changed their whole center of gravity. Then came the really key stuff in the direct ancestors of birds, actual flight feathers, and a redesigned shoulder that allowed for a powerful flapping stroke. And finally, that long, bony tail got dramatically shorter, becoming a little stump called a pygostyle, which anchored a fan of tail feathers for steering. From a giant predator to a tiny pigeon, one piece at a time.
So what does this all tell us? This accidental rise, this unbelievable diversification, and the incredible survival of this one lineage as birds, what does it tell us about how evolution actually works? Well, the answer is literally etched in the rocks all around us.
A really important idea here is something called missing ancestral lineages. See, the fossil record is full of huge gaps. A major new group of dinosaurs can seem to just appear out of nowhere. But what those gaps really tell us is that they were probably evolving for millions of years before that, just at small sizes that didn't fossilize very well. It just reinforces that evolution isn't some neat and tidy ladder of progress. It's a patchy story that we only know about because of chance discoveries.
And on a planetary scale, their entire history was basically governed by luck. The supercontinent Pangaea broke apart, creating new isolated labs for evolution. Land bridges would pop up, letting some dinosaurs spread and mix, while others got stuck. You'd have powerful dinosaurs go completely extinct on one continent while they was thriving on another. So the big takeaway here is that the story of the dinosaurs wasn't some pre-planned global march toward perfection. It was a messy, unpredictable saga shaped by geology, climate, and pure dumb luck. Which, brings us to a final and pretty humbling thought. If the dinosaurs, the most successful land animals of all time, owed their epic reign not to destiny but to circumstance and chance, what does that say about us? Are we really the pinnacle of evolution? Or are we just the latest victors in another one of history's great accidents, just waiting for the stage to be cleared all over again?